How's it going, YouTube? I've got a great video for you today. Recently, I've been trying to make it simpler for my players and I to navigate through large maps without having to break Roll20 or have to worry about all their tokens at once. So I came up with this little method. Before we get into it though, if you find this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing, as it is hugely helpful to grow this studio into a fully fledged business. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first step to this equation is this program called Dungeon Fog. I do want to note before I completely get into this, I am not any way affiliated with this business. I just enjoy their product. But what it does is, as you can kind of see in the video in the background, is it's a very simple tool to creating either very minimalist or detailed maps. For me, on this route and this method, I vote for minimalist because I'm trying to show you guys like a very easy, quick way to make large-scale maps. The only thing I would say about it, it is a little difficult to pick up at first, but once you learn, it's easy enough. And there's probably alternatives to Dungeon Fog, but for me, I like using it. And needless to say, Dungeon Fog is pretty easy to create maps with, but I'm gonna go over how to actually do it in a separate video to kind of give you guys that head start. There is a lot of detail that goes into the maps. If you like, you can make it very simple, like I will show you here in a second, but you can really get into it, as you can tell in the video behind us. Once you have your map put down, you go over here to Roll20, save it as an image. I think I had to download it or snip it, one of the two, but you save it as an image and kind of blow it up on your Roll20 map, and then you just place it right here with your dynamic lighting. And for me, dynamic lighting is very important for this, because traditionally I think you're going to be using this to have your players go through like a large dungeon. This example is actually something my players are going through right now. It's a sewer system, so they're not going to be able to see that far, so you just have it where they can see a little bit outside of like their square, as they traditionally would be, and so they can kind of like see where they're going. And then you just kind of like place their token down and have them navigate accordingly. I have Explorer mode on, as you can tell, where like all these grayed out areas, the places they've already been. And that's because they had successful survival checks, so they're able to actually like know exactly how to get back there. But you know, you could also have it where Explorer mode isn't on, so it's a lot more confusing and complicated, and you know, maybe more thrilling for them to be navigating through this area if they didn't actually pass those survival checks. This little token right here, this is actually your party token, and what this does is represents your party as a whole, so you don't have to deal with like 5, 6, 7 tokens, however many players that you have, and having them all move around and, you know, do things like go to around corners that you don't want them to go around and such like that. This just really just kind of makes it so much easier to get players navigating through an area without like having to reveal like tons of information or deal with like Roll20's lag, or them being like, you know, too curious players or something. I think this brings an interesting dynamic to the party. With navigating, traditionally people will communicate and figure out exactly what to do, but this kind of forces that dynamic, right? You know, it forces players that are going to be leaders to step up and be the leaders, or it forces players that are, you know, not going to communicate to really like show themselves like, hey, this person's just here for like the killing or whatever. And then also like make some parties like really communicate and like bring that out in them. So I think this is a good way to kind of like push those players to the point and see what they're kind of all about. Obviously, you can make this more detailed. You can use your imagination to why this might help you as a game master. But I think it would make it so much easier for anyone that has like the lack of material for the AP that they've gotten, the adventure they've gotten, or, you know, game masters that homebrew their own campaign, because we got to make everything. I homebrew all my stuff and I have to make everything. That's why I gave you this video, because I feel like this is going to be helpful for you. Anyways, again, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing if you found it helpful, and thank you for taking the time to watch. See you next time.